Hello, my name is Mona Ellis, and I am a DOT qualified SAP. I provide SAP services in Arizona, Texas, and Utah. So today I am here to talk about how do I pass a drug test. We're going to be talking about two different type of tests. We're going to be talking about a federal regulated drug test, which is also known as a DOT drug test, and then we're going to be talking about a non federal regulated drug test, which is also known as a non DOT drug test. I decided to do this video because I am a SAP provider and I do make recommendations for individuals to take a federal drug test and a non federal drug test. And so there's a lot of questions about false positives. Why am I testing positive? I don't take drugs. I'm on medication. How long is the drug is going to stay in my system? And how do I pass the test? Or how do I, because I've already taken the drug and I already have a positive test. So hopefully I'll be able to answer some of these questions and provide you with some helpful information to ease a little bit of the stress that comes along with having a positive workplace drug test. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is the reason for the drug test. The reason many companies and federal law requires drug testing is to ensure that you are providing safe services to the public, that the public is going to be safe while you're performing your safety sensitive duty. I know many people, when they're emotional, it's about them, but it's really about the services that you provide. In most cases, you are a professional. And along with Miss Mona and many other professionals, we have to be substance free when we're providing safety sensitive duties as public servant. I have been a public servant for almost 30 years, providing services to the public. And so I've always taken that very, very seriously. And so I want to help you also. So when you go for a drug test and you test positive for that test, and you are a federal safety sensitive employee, you are required to go through the return to duty program by the Federal Department of Transportation. Okay. Many companies also do these SAP like referrals and they mimic this same program. So, in some cases, even if you're not a safety sensitive federal employee, you may have to go through a SAP for company policies, and we call that a SAP like referral. So, that's normally companies like DISA, a lot of the pipeline, chemical plants, pre-access test, stuff like that. They will go through these same procedures. So just want to throw you guys in there too. However, they're not considered federal. Now, in particularly, I also want to talk about other types of tests that you will have to take. When you are being monitored by a qualified DOT substance abuse professional, you may be required to take a non-federal drug test for several reasons. Some SAPs may require more than one test during the monitoring period. And this is because we have a responsibility as well for public safety, and that when we return you to work, you are substance free and you're ready for step 5, which is the return to duty drug and or alcohol test. Another reason is we don't want you to test positive when you haven't used the substances since you found out you were positive, because sometimes it takes drugs a while to get out of your system. And so your body has to go through a detoxification process. So in that process, we don't want to just send you back and then you test positive on a federal test, which is a federal DOT test, and then you will have to complete the process all over again when you really haven't even did anything when you began the SAP services. So we want to avoid all of those potential problems. So if you're with pretty much a seasoned DOT qualified SAP, and I say seasoned because they pretty much have been in the business for a very long time. So I would say a minimum of 5 years is a seasoned SAP, because there's a lot of changes that have went on, and we know about what happened before and what happened when we got the clearinghouse and all of the other changes effective May of 2023. And now we're going to be getting some more changes November of 2024. So we've kind of rolled through the process and rolled the waves of figuring out things and rolled the waves of the changes. That's what I call it, season SAP. So what we're going to be looking at when we do our drug test is the first thing you have to do to pass your test. You have to stop using the drug. Whatever type of drug it is, you have to stop it. And if you have a problem with stopping the drugs, then we will talk about it in your SAP services and see what kind of help we can give you. That may be more intense level of care. When we're conducting your initial assessment, we're going to be taking a look at the American Society of Addiction Medicine, Diagnosis and Treatment for Substance Use Disorder. This it mimics a lot of the medical doctors that specialize in substance use. And so they're required to go by these in order to treat you for your substance use. Many medical doctors are providing treatment for substance use. Your family practitioner, many times if you have alcohol use disorder or many other opioid use disorder, they will prescribe medications to help with the cravings, to reduce those cravings so that you can discontinue that use of the drugs. And so we do talk to a lot of them as well and get insight and information. We're also going to be looking at the nanograms per milliliter when you're doing your drug test. A lot of times this information may not be provided to you because it's looked at more on a professional level. How do I know that this is not a false positive? Well, they have a confirmation. So when you look at DOT drug cutoff chart, which is on their on their website, you just have to Google in DOT drug cutoff and it's going to give you the cutoff. So I'll show you that in a little bit. They look at the nanograms per milliliter. So we have a confirmation on there for a cutoff. That confirmation is going to confirm that the drugs are pretty much have metabolized in your system, and it's going to produce a creatine level. So that's going to be a part of the confirmation. So a lot of times it may say it's a certain number cutoff. Like, for example, marijuana is 15 nanograms per milliliter for the cutoff. But the testing level may be 50. So let me go here and look and see if I can provide more insight per marijuana. So in my notes, it has the cutoff level for marijuana is set at a relatively low level, as marijuana is the most commonly used illegal substance in the United States. The cutoff level for marijuana is 50 nanograms per milliliter, but the confirming level, the confirmatory level is going to be 15 nanograms per milliliter. So that way they know the drug is in your system, but because of, say, it may take a while to get out or whatever, they're not going to confirm it. The cutoff is 50. Okay, so that is to kind of reduce any false positives or whatever. A lot of people say, oh, marijuana is illegal. That's per state. So right now it's not federal and it's not according to DOT federal policy. So we're looking at DOT federal policies. We're not looking at, you can go to the state, you can go to a dispensary and you can buy it. We're only going by DOT federal policies, okay? We're not looking at what you do in your own time off. We're looking at federal policies as a safety-sensitive employee. And that the thing about marijuana is that other drugs like cocaine may take 2 to 4 days, where you may have to wait a little bit longer because marijuana kind of sticks to your fat cells and stays in your body a little bit longer based on how your body metabolizes marijuana. And so I'm just hoping this information is very helpful. Because it's for the people that don't know about it to learn about it. And that's what I try to do is I try to provide a lot of information and knowledge and expertise. So of course, amphetamine cutoff level is 500 nanograms. And so opioids is 2,000 nanograms per milliliter. And so we're looking at all of this information. When you go and you talk to a substance abuse professional, qualified DOT SAP, make sure you're open and honest. Why? Ms. Mona's going to give you some insight. We can actually contact the medical review officer by law. They have to provide us with your information. Okay. We got the information in the clearinghouse so they can ask you, okay, I need a copy of that MRO information from your clearinghouse. I need you to give me that information, not a copy. They can screenshot the clearinghouse, what I normally do, for them to give me that information. I can contact the medical review officer to find out what are the cutoff levels, and what your levels are. It's not mandatory, but we can get the information to be able to do an accurate clinical assessment of your substance use. So always try to be honest with your SAP or your provider or your clinician or your employer, because your employer can even get that information. I've used it in the professional realm for employees as well, outside of DOT regulated drug and alcohol testing. And so another question is, what drugs are tested for DOT drug tests? So here we go. We got 6 different drugs right now: marijuana, cocaine, amphetamines, opioids, PCP, and alcohol. All right. So those are the DOT. There's some new laws that's coming in to where there may not just be only urine tests, but there may be some oral swab tests. So because there's a lot of things that go on with urine tests, so sometimes you may have a mouth swab. It's just depending on your employer or who's requiring the test, but they are doing it. Okay. And so, there's a lot of consequences if you are positive. So we don't want you to test positive again. The first thing you need to do is stop using the drug so your body can go through the detox. Okay. The second thing is what I've just did. Learn about drug and alcohol, the dangers of drug and alcohol. So a lot of times the SAP may refer you to an education program where you can kind of learn about that. There's even one that gives you information about DOT and their requirements. If you just want to learn about it, it's Recourse Life, recourse.life. They give a lot of information about DOT policies, and they stay up on that too as it pertains to the drug and alcohol testing rules. Many of the SAPs go there, and we do education as well, just to get some insight and information on what's happening and what's going on. And so your SAP may require 1 to 2 non-DOT federal tests for your follow-up that has to be passed. So we're not going to conduct your follow-up evaluation until you have passed those drug tests. One of the reasons we want to make sure that you're not using. The next reason we want to make sure that you don't have a positive DOT drug test. We want to make sure that you're able to pass that, because we know that if you get another positive test, you'll have to come through the SAP program. And many SAPs, we love what we do, but we don't. A lot of times we want to make it fair, because it would be unfair for you to go through the process all over again if you're not using drugs. So if your SAP say, hey, I need you to go and take drug tests 1, 2, or 3, yes, you'll have to pay for them, but it would be worse if you go back and you fail, because you'll have to pay for the process all over again, go through treatment and education all over again. And that's a big of a headache rather than you just paying a fee for a non-federal drug test. Okay. So that's most of the information that I have. A lot of stuff in the caption. If you read in the caption, I have the federal, a lot more information on the drug and alcohol federal testing rules and information. Just know that if you ever get sent for a drug test, even if you say, you know what, I don't really want this job, I got another offer, go take your drug test, because it will be a refusal to test. And we do not want a refusal to test. So I have a lot of guys that are going from one job to another because some of them are not paying. They can make more money. No, I'm not going to go over there. But even if you don't plan on going to work for the company, if you get an invite on your email or whatever to take a drug test, go take it because they'll hit you with a refusal to test. You're not paying for that pre-employment drug test or whatever. So just go take the drug test. So the DOT drug test is different. Okay, the DOT the return to duty and follow-up test is different. Okay, it's going to be a split test. All right, so you're going to provide one specimen, but it's going to be split in two different vials. Okay, because if there's a problem or if you want to contest it, they'll just come up with the same sample in the other vial. So that's a split test. So when you call the medical review officer after he says, "Hey, you've tested positive," you'll say, "I don't believe it." They'll make you pay for a retest or whatever they call it. It's not really a retest, but they'll run the sample. They'll test the sample again, and then they'll give you the results, which is the same sample that you've already had. If you're taking any medication, any prescription medication, you need to let the medical review officer know. So he's going to call you and give you, he or she is going to call you and give you your results. And at that time, when you get that phone call, it's a time for you to say, "Hey, I'm on medication." There's a lot of medications, I'm not going to name them, that will give a false positive. And that's why they have the confirmed test to hopefully avoid that. But if it doesn't, then you can let them know what type of medication you are taking, and they will ask you for maybe your prescription, a pharmaceutical printout, and they will compare that. And that will not count as a positive test if it's validated and the information is reviewed. Then the medical review officer may not say that's he may use that, and then the test won't be positive. Um, I'm also finding out that many drivers, many safety sensitive employees, whether they're in the FAA, Federal Aviation, or if they're in the pipeline, or either they're in the railroad, sometimes they're still working in safety sensitive positions while they have a positive test. That is a big no, 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 no. Don't do that. That could land you in jail because it's a federal crime. And that could land you with a nasty fine. I've heard people being fined anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000, and I've per load, per violation, per incident, however they classify it, and including the employer being fined. So please, let's not do that and follow the recommendations. If you have any questions or any information, I have lots of information like about the downgrading of many CDO licenses, about the process on my website. Visit www.monatherapy.com. I also allow a 5-minute phone conversation if you have any questions where you can call me. Now, if you get over the 5 minutes, you're going to have to hang up, go to my website, and pay the consultation fee. But it's www.monatherapy.com. My phone number is 713-266-2090. If I do not answer, that means that I am in session with a client. Please leave a message and I will call you back by the next business day. Normally, I make my calls in the morning before I start my sessions for today. Thank you for watching my videos. Hopefully at some point in time, you'll be able to see this because I'm on a live video. And you'll be able to run this video and hopefully it will answer most of your questions. Oh, I forgot to show you the DOT, how the cutoff look. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So there we go. I'm hoping this shows up on the live. So these are what the cutoff concentrations are for a urine drug test. So this is not for mouth swabs or oral swabs. I'm sorry. I think they're able to do that now based on a new law. But this is marijuana. So you see the confirm at 15 nanograms per milliliter. All right, for THC. And you see the 50 cutoff. So even though you may have it confirmed, this is when we're going to validate it as a positive drug test. Okay. And there's cocaine, there's morphine and codeine, there's hydrocodone, and there's PCP, morphine, PCP. So they're all on here. Amphetamine, MDMA. The only thing that's not on there is alcohol. Okay, so they can do alcohol and breath alcohol test. So they can do that as well. Thank you guys for visiting and watching my video. I do this so that I can make sure that you're able to do what you need to do and do what you love to do. Make money, enjoy your work as a safety sensitive employee, and take care of your families. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.